I'm a little embarrassed. I hope nobody saw me crying at my own work. Seems rather immodest. But I'm moved by the actor's work. And thank you, Dan, and I'm so grateful that you were my partner and fellow travelers. And I also an honor to be honored on the same evening as Tony Gilroy, whom I admire so much. And I also just want to acknowledge one of my managers, David Cantor, is here and, with Adam Schulman and Steve Golan. They were the first people who said 12 years ago, yes, you should pursue this thing called fellow travelers, even though people said no one's going to make something that is political, gay, and period. Well, they were wrong. And thank you, David. And I also have to acknowledge always my mentor, Jonathan Demme, who he found me when I was in film school, and he gave me a career, and he gave me my life. I'll look at the teleprompter. I met Walter Bernstein at a Sundance screenwriting lab. I was touched by Walter's kindness. I was inspired by his passion for good writing and for justice. You know, Walter had suffered a grave personal injustice when he was blacklisted in the 1950s, but he was able to make a living by writing scripts under a pseudonym, a front, hence his movie of that title. Like Walter, I know what it's like to have lived behind a false identity. Growing up in a small town in the 1960s and 70s, there were no gay characters in movies, books, or in television shows. I didn't even hear the word homosexual spoken aloud until I went away to college. I grew up believing that what I was not only bad, it was so bad that it was unspeakable. I was the unspeakable thing. The events that affected Walter's life took place during the McCarthy era. And by the way, if you want to preview what might happen to our country in November, watch Fellow Travelers, watch what Roy Cohn, watch him destroy people's lives, and remember that he was the mentor to one of our presidential candidates. And be afraid. Be very afraid. Most of us know about McCarthy and Cohn's crusade against communists and Reds, but there is another chapter to that saga that is largely unknown, that forms a major plot line in Fellow Travelers, and that's the Lavender Scare, the purge of thousands of people from the federal government as alleged sexual deviants. 5,000 to 10,000 careers were destroyed, lives ruined. The FBI raided people's homes. They searched people's underwear drawers. An interrogator who conducted these investigations claimed that they were averaging one suicide a week among those people being investigated. Yet, before I started researching my show, I never heard of it. Those innocent people are lost to history. We can't mourn them because they were forced to live hidden lives. But that's the past, right? Now we have lots of shows and movies with LGBT characters. We have our own award shows. We even have a menu on streamers, right? Thriller, rom-com, LGBTQ. You know, I think it was John Simon who said, the love that dare not speak its name is now the love that just won't shut up. We're here, we're queer, problem solved. But I'm not so sure. You know, a friend of mine, a straight man, you know, and yes, some of my best friends are straight. He told me that he loved Fellow Travelers, but he would never have watched it if he wasn't my friend because he just usually doesn't watch gay shows. And I said to him, Mike, now you know how I've lived my entire life. Imagine if I just didn't consume straight culture. I would have missed everything. I would have missed Succession, The Sopranos, Breaking Bad, I Love Lucy, although I do have questions about Ethel. I mean, she wasn't really married to Fred, come on. I would have missed Philip Roth, Tolstoy, Hamlet. So imagine this, straight people. Imagine you're in a room full of executives. You've just pitched your heart out, and they tell you, oh my God, we love your pitch. It's an amazing story. We just have one question. What are you trying to accomplish by making the main character straight? Or, we love your pitch, but we're already developing a straight show. I've heard the gay versions of those things in my career. You know, I met a young man in Toronto. When he learned that I'd written Philadelphia, he said, well, that movie was very significant to my life. This was just about a year ago. And I asked, how is that possible? He was 30 years old. He was an infant when the movie was released. And he said that at his Catholic all-boys high school in San Salvador, his health teacher, obviously a closeted gay priest, I'm just sure, his health teacher showed Philadelphia to his class. And he had never imagined that this thing, his hidden self, that he was so afraid to reveal, could be the subject of a movie starring Tom Hanks. Or a teacher could present it as a topic of discussion. And he said to me, after that day, I knew I was going to be okay. There's power in what we do. We have an obligation to make art that is, first of all, good. Not art that teaches moral lessons. That's bad art. But art that explores the unspeakable things within all of us. You know, some friends and I have talked quietly about the current state of our business, the contracting. Maybe it's going to get more conservative. And I've wondered, maybe this isn't the time for me to try to sell another queer show. But this award, named for Walter, gives me courage. So I resolve tonight that I will continue to write shows and movies with queer main characters and queer storylines. That will not change. What has to change is that you stop thinking of them as queer shows. On the set of Fellow Travelers, I told my cast and crew, and by the way, 5 main characters, LGBTQ main characters played by 5 out LGBTQ actors in a show that was produced by 4 LGBTQ executive producers. I told my cast and crew that we're not making an LGBT show about homophobia and racism, and yes, we will explore those things. Yes, our characters are black and white LGBT people, but we're making a show about human beings because we all experience loss, grief, hope, joy, and if we're lucky, love. And even though love is dangerous, it's the only thing that matters. And in the end, really, it's the only thing worth making art about. Thank you, WGA. Thank you so much.